hello, and welcome to Rockin the Love. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil, and I'm surprised.
There you
You're
go.
here.
So, we're so happy to be with you today, and we'd love to hear from you. This is a show where we're really gonna welcome your participation. So, say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're calling from. Calling. I'm on a radio show. Sorry, where you're coming in from. Where you're. What do we say?
Where you hanging out?
Yeah. Where your physical body is.
Oh, there you go.
That's what we say here in New Thought. And there's Wayne, look, from Calgary, all the way
Already.
from Calgary
And New
and
Mexico.
New Mexico. Oh,
All
a
right.
mystery, a
Hi,
Facebook
Mystery
user.
New Mexico.
Anyway, wherever you are, we're glad you're here. You want to tell them a little bit about the topic of our show today?
Sure. So we are in, the middle of July already of 2023. And we're going to talk today about questions. We we have questions. We all have questions. And what we're going to just talk about is like, what well, I don't know what we're going to talk about exactly because we got some odd questions for you, some interesting sort of deep thought questions, and we just want to initialize a conversation around some of the things that we check into.
Yeah.
And so
Some
we have Abe
questions.
in New Mexico. Thanks for joining us, Abe.
Yeah, welcome. So many of you know that I am in, I was going to say Southern California. I am not there. I am in Northern California. And Gil, who is my husband, is in New Mexico. So we are having a marriage across the states. You know, why not? Why not?
It does create some questions on occasion, particularly from other people.
Yeah, it does. But that's not what the show's about today, unless we
Nope.
go there. So, how was your week?
My week has been good. It's been full, a lot going on. I am, moving along. We had a giant thing at the center yesterday afternoon, so there were tons and tons of people. It's just nice to see so many people and see things moving and people invested. And let's see, I haven't had a teenager to worry about since Saturday.
Yeah.
I've been out bike riding whenever I wanted to, for as long as I wanted to, for as far as I wanted to, because I didn't have anyone else I had to keep up with.
Right.
So there you go.
Yeah. And to answer Abe's question, Gil is in New Mexico in Albuquerque.
I am in Albuquerque.
He's hanging out in the ABQ.
I'm currently hanging out in the Northwest at my house, and sometimes I hang out at the center in the Northeast. So there you go.
What center?
The Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living.
Ah.
Yep.
Okay, and my week was good. It was so busy. It's so busy. I'm a busy person, and everyone is always telling me how busy I am. But I took it to a new height this week. I could really understand people with like handlers where you don't even know your schedule and someone just keeps telling you where to be. That's really what I felt like. I was just like, where am I now? Where am I now? Where am I now? And if people would ask me like, well, where are you now? I had to really seriously think and figure, backtrack a little to figure out where I was. But it's been a good week. It's been a productive week. Everything hasn't looked exactly like I thought it would, but when does that ever happen? And and I'm excited. I'm excited to go into the next week. I always live in the illusion that it's going to be that things are going to calm down, and I don't know that it hasn't been the case so far.
No, it doesn't calm down. That's the illusion. The question is, how are we dealing with it? And how are we making choices that allow us to feel like we have spaciousness in our lives? I think that's the question. Hey, look, there was a question in there. I think those are the questions that we need to ask. Not so much how is it gonna or when is it gonna, or it's like, well, no, what is it that I need to be looking at?
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to look at some of that, um, but not until after the good news. So now's the time for the good news, the time when we let you in on something good that's going on in the world. So, what
I'm
do you?
going first. All
Yeah.
right. I have two. Um, One of them is, uh, several years ago, many years ago, the U.S. finally started paring down some of their military bases, particularly in the country. And one very large one in San Diego area is now finally they've broken ground on what will be the largest municipal park in the country.
Wow.
Yeah, El Toro Marine Base
Oh, yeah.
is being converted, and instead of just selling the land off and building condos, they've created a whole open space park, which will be considerably larger than Central Park in New York.
Wow.
So that's pretty exciting. Um, and the second one just caught my eye in part because of what we're talking about. Um, but, but it is that the headline is Scientists Discover Time Moving 5 times Slower After the Big Bang, exactly as Einstein predicted. Now, first of all, it's fascinating that it's exactly as Einstein predicted. But secondly, I'm just asking the questions about time. Like we talk about time as a construct and this and that. And so, how does time slow down in the universe? I think that's just a fascinating thought. So, there you go. That's my contribution to today's good news, and also the question might filter into our further discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I think it will. Well, my good news is the story about a man became friends with a fish. And if you, well, if you listen to us regularly or watch this, I do like those stories that point to our all oneness, because I'm fascinated because in concept and in theory, I really think that. And as a child, you know, I would cry when I had to throw away my Kleenex, even if I had used it, because it was painful for me. And I didn't understand it until one day when I was listening to um, Michael Beckwith talk about, well, we're all one and the pain fills the tree. And when the pain gets made into the paper, and then I was like, oh my God, I've been like feeling this pain. So these stories are like fascinating to me. So this is a story about a man becoming friends with a fish and that they meet every summer. Yes, I'll say it again. They meet every summer in the same Wisconsin lake. Like,
Wow.
oh, come on, come on, right? But anyway, so the story goes that he's a scuba diver and he made friends with this bass, this smallmouth bass, while he was on a freshwater dive back in 2021. And he named the fish Elvis. And according to him, they meet every 2 years. And the way that he knows it's him is he has a very distinct scar, like someone had caught him and threw him back in. So he can tell that it's the same fish. And he taught the fish, yes, he taught the fish a very specific call so that when he does the call, the fish comes. And he says he does like a gulping grunt sound with his throat, and then the fish will come and find him. Okay, I too thought, I was still on the fence, right? But he said the last time this year when he went that he had to do it a little bit longer. It took the fish longer to get there. But then there's actually a video that I watched, and I'm going to put the link in the chat in case you want to check it out. But there's actually a video I watched of the two of them, and it was pretty fascinating. And he brings the fish crawfish, and he says, it's always a little scary because you never know when Elvis isn't going to be around, right? And, when he's going to get caught or when, something's going to happen. But it was when I watched their video, it was I can't explain it, but you could really see the bond between this scuba diver and the fish. And the first time he went, he said that like 2 weeks later he returned and Elvis recognized him and approached him, and Elvis even gets jealous of the other fish and he'll squish them, swoosh them away. And I watched it all on video. And so I don't know, it was pretty extraordinary. But again, to me, it so speaks of the wonder in the oneness of what we say we believe, and okay, why not? I mean,
Well, Rockin' the Love is a show all about relationships.
right?
How interesting that I think so many of us probably do not have a construct to allow for that breadth of possibility. Even I think it takes a while to sort of take that in and go, wow, that's fascinating, because we don't think of it as possible even.
Right. And I also think that there is a place where we cut off at that. Yes, we believe it's all one. Yes, I'm one with the sun and the flowers and the moon and the stars and the chair I'm sitting on. But when something responds in that way, like a fish or a dog or a cat or whatever, I mean a fish specifically, right? Because a fish isn't one that dogs, cats, they snuggle you, they do their thing. But like something like that we don't have that kind of relationship with, it's interesting. It's
Yeah.
just interesting.
Yeah. Wow. So there you go. So right there in our good news are a stack of questions.
Okay. Well, let's get your questions together. I also have a question from a viewer that I have tucked away. So get your questions together. You can ask them. You can do whatever's needed. And there you go. There's John. Welcome, John. He's looking for the fish right there in his own backyard or in his own living room. He is the fish. Okay. Anyway, we will be right back here on New Thought Media Network. Join us.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ricky Byers, and what I want you to know is that on the weekend of July 14th, that's July 14th, 15th, and 16th, I'm going to be blowing up Salt Lake City. This is my debut there. I've never been there before. So, Reverend Cindy, look out. We're going to burn it up, baby. God bless. Peace.
we're back. I am Robyn.
And I'm Gil, and this is Rockin the Love. We're happy to have you all here with us today. We are grateful to just have the opportunity to hang out and talk to all of you and talk to each other and ask a few questions. Because today, apparently, we have some interesting questions to look at. I don't know, Wayne. I'm not convinced yet. I don't know.
I think, well, to Wayne's question, can zombies learn the ways of the Force? I think that zombies are the Force.
Okay.
It's simple. It's not. It's not hard. I think that we all are the Force.
We are the Force.
Gil can't
The
go
Force
there.
with us.
Poor Gil. Poor Gil. His head just exploded. He cannot go to the Force. You know, Wayne. It takes a very special person to understand the Force and the zombies. So I thank you for being here. But clearly, it's not a universal question. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and clearly our producer has some thoughts and feelings about the zombies and the black holes. So I suggest everyone tune into his show on Friday nights. Michael Mangus, Friday nights. All right. So we are going to start with some questions besides that we just did. And Gil, you've got them. So you tell me. And go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, one question that I found I thought was just interesting, and of course it's been explored in movies, etc. But is life just a simulation?
Is life just a simulation?
So where have we seen that? And we've seen it in the Matrix, that it's all created. We've seen it in Truman, an entire world created. And the question is what we're seeing really there?
See, these are the times when I really would like Rev Kev and Rev Sherry to be here. Because I feel like this is what you all do as ministers, is talk about these things. And somehow you make them make sense, because we forget what the real question was anyway.
Okay, so let's just follow it up. How would we know if reality was actually real anyway? What do we think? Anybody got a thought on that? How would we know? How could we prove that reality is real versus reality being non-reality? Or what we define as reality as being non-reality?
Well, I mean, to me that begs the question: is any of it real? Because I could come up with a technical answer, and I could come up with a technical answer, like, well, if it wasn't real, then I wouldn't need money to pay my rent. But then that begs the question: is that the truth? And is that real? So yeah, that's my answer.
Yes. So what we've done to ourselves today is moved into a place of philosophical thinking, which is never straightforward, in my opinion, and often circular. So, but how do we look at our whole lives, and how do we figure out the spiritual world if we don't ask questions? We got to ask questions.
I think that's a really good point. And why I think it's a really good point is because I think that sometimes when people are spiritual, or when they've taken a lot of classes or learned a lot of things, they don't think they should have any more questions. When in reality, I think it's exactly the opposite. I think that it's the continual questioning that continues the growth.
Yes. Curious people. Curious people. That's the key. The ones that stop being curious are no longer in the game.
Yes. There she is, Rev Sherry Lynn. What is real? It's all made up. God is real and it can't be explained. I told you she would be good here.
Sherry, I'm going to have to go take a nap now.
But that's true. I mean, it's basically what I'm saying. It's like once you start that, it's kind of a slippery slope to that. Like at some point you go, none of it's real.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is it the way we define real? Because I don't know. Clearly, when I touch you or I shake your hand, it's real. Or is it?
Aha.
I mean, I don't want to do the whole show like that, but you know what I mean. It's real. That's real. So what is that really? What is that? There is some point of connection with the now moment, and whether it's defined as reality, it's real to those of us that are in it.
Well, let's bring it down to practicality.
Okay.
Is your guy with the fish in a real relationship, or is he just nuts?
I was laughing at, is it live or is it Memorex? I think he's in a real relationship, but that's because I think we're in a relationship with everything. So it doesn't matter that the fish, that they have clearly a deeper relationship than one would with most fish in the lake. It's a different kind of relationship, but it's real.
So let's hear from our folks. Sherry Lynn says, real is we are spiritual beings living in a human experience on this plane.
She
And
said in this plane.
In this plane, excuse me. And our Facebook user, I believe our Abe, I'm guessing, says it's all an experience and expression of spirit experiencing itself. And I think that is a very interesting construct.
I love that. Because that's what we say. That's the truth of who we are, that we are spirit, right? We are the living, breathing image of the divine. Therefore, how could it be anything but spirit experiencing an expression of itself, or you know what I mean? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, that brings me to the thought of, in order to really be connected with spirit and understand spirit, a lot of particularly spiritual gurus and leaders throughout times have talked about becoming enlightened and these kinds of things. Can we do that without some kind of intentional spiritual practice? Can we understand the divine without seeking to understand, without opening to the possibility?
I think so.
You think so?
If I'm understanding your question, I don't know. Everybody, let me know what you think. But I think if I'm understanding your question, you're asking, in order to understand spirit, do I need to be studying it or diving deeper into some belief or religious or spiritual?
Do I need to be finding ways to connect with it? Or will it just happen?
Oh, yeah. No, I think it just happens, right? I mean, I think we show up that way. I mean, babies do that.
Mhm.
Babies connect. Who knows what they're connecting with, but they connect with joy and playfulness and all of those things, all all in, just in their own sphere of time. Like they don't even need us to entertain them, but I think they do find us highly entertaining at times.
So, why do some people, feel like they need to pray and meditate and do all those things? What do you think?
I think that's just an extension of 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 the relationship. I think it's like if I found a guy that I thought was the one I wanted to marry and then I didn't do anything. It's like I would need to make the next move, which would be to get closer and to dive deeper into who we really are.
Okay, so now we just got deep. Conscious contact seems to make it different, but it isn't possible to not be one with, and I'm assuming the next word is spirit, or one with the world, or one with everything.
That's from Wayne. Life of vibrational energy. That wasn't the end of the sentence. Yes, I don't think there. I think that is the end of the sentence. Conscious context seems to make it different, but it isn't possible to not be one with. It's
Right.
not possible to be one with. And Wayne says, "I am one with the force. The force is with me." I mean, it's truly that's the same concept, right? I mean, there's no uh, indivisibility amongst that.
Yeah, can I be somewhere else? Can I be somehow outside of that oneness?
Sherry Lynn says, not necessarily. They are many different cultures representing the spirit, different ways how to understand it.
So I just want to comment that apparently these answers are more thought through because she's changed from Sherry Lynn to Reverend Dr. Sherry Lynn.
I noticed that. She's showing up in a new way. Um,
She's really putting out the answers now.
she wants to be one with you pontificators. Um, but I was going to say, um, what, and New Thought Media is asking, what is love?
Love is all there is.
But what is love? Like if you had to describe love to one of Wayne's zombie friends, what is love?
Love is a flower. Love is a flowing river.
But that's poetic, but that doesn't do it for me.
Well, at least I was poetic.
And I love you, but that doesn't do anything. I know really, but what is love? Because I mean, what is love? I mean, I think I would say what comes to me first when I think about that is, um, well, the first thing that came to me was a dedication to the divine. And I don't even know what that means. I mean, I do, but I don't even know. I mean, that's not a thought through answer. That's a spirit answer.
Love is the divine. Love is all of it.
Oh, and John, God bless John. Buddha held up a single flower at a sangha, and one priest became enlightened. That's beautiful.
Was
And
he engulfed and loved?
well, how do we know that it was only one that became enlightened?
He's the only one that admitted it.
Or he's the only one that Buddha said was enlightened? No, but for real. I mean, these are all those open-ended questions because truly, if there's only one of us here, then how could anybody else not have become enlightened? If it's really about the one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's everything everywhere all the time.
Yes, and you haven't even seen that movie yet.
No, I haven't. And
But
how many
that's
became enlightened from that one? See, there's the next question. So the one became enlightened from the flower, and then what happened from there? And here's the next question. What is enlightened? What does it mean to be enlightened? I mean, if we are, as we said earlier, all connected to spirit, we are that expression of spirit, then what is there to be enlightened?
oh, so many questions. So many questions. No, but really, and we can see you out there. So put some thoughts in the chat because yes, this is a slippery slope of questions. However, there's a lot of things to be revealed in this.
So the Reverend Cherry was letting us know that she just had to switch devices, so she didn't want to miss anything, and that's why she came up slightly different.
And is that the truth?
Or was that the appropriate person to write the answer to the question?
See, every question leads to another question. So does that mean that there's no answer?
Or is the answer in the question? Or is the answer another question?
Oh my God. I might have to take another commercial break because this is exhausting.
Deep questions. So what I'm reminded of, Sherry, by your comment is Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy. If anyone remembers Saturday Night Live. They were hilarious.
Well, okay, so I want to go to a different question. I'm going to switch because
let's go.
We actually had John ask a question, which was, how does one stay centered in the midst of seeming chaos and adversity? Like in all that goes on, not even in the world, but just in one's life.
So what would we define as centered? What makes us think that we're centered?
I think centered is a balanced, calming, just as opposed to being flying off the handle in every moment or being at our wits' end in every moment, or, when we get to that place where we're anxious or nervous or, something like that.
It might be the place where we're actively involved in our life rather than reactively involved in our life.
Ooh, deep answers.
So how do we get ourselves centered in the midst of everything? It goes back to our comment earlier about there's no way to be separated from the one. We are part of the one. And the spiritual practices are the things that help remind us or give us the illusion that we somehow can access that better. And so oftentimes it's about, do we have that muscle memory where we can go back to taking the breath or knowing that it's not about me, it's okay, or whatever it is we need to know.
And Abe says willingness and awareness.
Yes. So the spiritual practices take us to willingness and awareness. And willingness and awareness are key to being centered. I think.
And John answers his own question. Having a deep feeling of peace once will never be forgotten and is always available.
And that, for me, that begs the question, because kids, little kids, come out and we talk about how they have that connection and they know what it is and they somehow forget it. It gets educated out of them, or they no longer have that ability to see through, or people tell them you can't see through there, don't look there. And so at some level, I think yes, it's always there, but the question is, can we access it? Can we get to it? Can we remember it? But it's always there. I mean, it's not that it's forgotten, it's that it's filed away, and we got to remember which drawer it's in.
Well, and I would even say it's not that you have to remember which drawer it is. You have to remember how to open the drawer.
Right.
Because we cut ourselves off. So yeah. And Abe said, went to John's, it's always forgotten and it's always available. Abe said, yep, just keep coming back, which is really the essence of
that's the essence of spiritual practice.
Right.
Keep coming back. So, Robyn, according to John, you reminded me to let go and let God during my crisis this week, not grip harder. So you said let go instead of hang on through the crisis. That seems counterintuitive.
I'm a gamer. No, but really, I think that, because a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people think that, who I am has come to me through all of my classes and teachings, when really who I am was who I was and who my family was. And so there's a part of me that through these years, I think what I've learned is really, whether it's all reality, whether it's all an illusion, whether we have the power, whether we create it, what I've learned is to let it go. Because what I've learned and I'm certain of is that there's really nothing I can do to change the situation like that. I mean, there's things I can do to change my feeling about the situation, or to open up the door to a different possibility. But it's like, I'm just speaking for myself. I'm tired of trying, of working to change things like that. Other people's opinions or journeys or, whatever. I really, I don't know, let it go. Frozen, let it go, let it go. It's no joke. That was good advice.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, John.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, John. It's reciprocal that we support each other and teach each other these lessons, because in the times I don't remember, there's John and Reverend Sherry and Rev Kev and Myrna and all these people that show up and remind me of all of these things that we all truly know, right? Ditto.
So it seems that we, as humans, often have things that we know, things that we've learned, things that we've experienced, and yet there's still something in us that will often function as if they're not there or they're not true. I mean, we have to push ourselves to come back around oftentimes, or take some kind of special action to get ourselves to move into that place. I think that's really interesting. Why is that? What is that that we don't just learn something and then it's there.
Well, and is that the truth?
Well, it seems like the truth. I mean, there are things that I know that I don't implement. I have to, go, oh, there it is. Let me go back or I start to head in a direction. I have to go, wait, I remember something about this. And I have to readjust. And don't we all readjust?
I think we do readjust, but I think we're readjusting based on whatever story we're telling ourselves that day. So there's days when I may, and before I go on this tangent, I know you have thoughts out there, Rev Kev, and all of you out there. So don't hold back, please. Yeah, what Abe just said, we're all on this path journey and often get to experience a detour for a different view. And I think, it's sort of like, shopping for shoes. You just keep trying different things on. And I think based on what Sherry Lynn said, based on the human experience we're having, we show up in our human way. And, with that, we're carrying whatever we're carrying that day. If it's a good day and I feel particularly, positive and like everything is possible, I'm going to have a different reaction than on the days when I didn't want to get out of bed and I was too tired and the kids were yelling and, all of those things. So I think, it's about like letting go of that story and always standing in the truth of who we are and why we're here, which is a big question for a whole show anyway, who we are and why we're
here.
Right.
I was going to say, did you comment on the answers to those?
No, I don't. But in you know what I mean? In the short version, metaphysical, we're all here to shine our light of God, like if we really stand in that every day, that's a different thing. John says, Michael Beckwith said, it's all a releasing, a letting go. And it was a God shock moment for me. Do not acquire. And for me, it's clearing pebbles and rocks inside my spirit that block the flow of our consciousness.
Yeah.
What a good garden metaphor there.
There you go. Yes. Even has a flower at the end of it. So when you mentioned Let It Go from Frozen, it occurred to me that we use music, we use songs to remind us, and one of the ones many of us know is I Release and I Let Go. The whole concept being I have to let go. I can't do it from my perspective all the time. I have to allow the perspective of something that's I have to from that part of me that has the broader perspective. That's what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Yeah. I have to allow the part of me that has the broader experience, the broader understanding, that thing that knows its connection as part of the one, and then it has access to all of, and that part of me can take me where I need to go.
So you froze, but I got the general idea. But again, I go to, is that the truth? Do you have to stand in that, or is it not important what you know? What's important is that you dive in and you trust. Do we really have to know?
Well, it's not so much that we have to know, but what I'm saying is that letting go and surrendering, we're surrendering and trusting in what's coming through rather than in trying to put the pieces all in order necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
That's that release part, that, instead of hanging on and trying to hold it together and remove the pieces that aren't working and stuff in new pieces, we just sort of step back and hold it.
Yeah.
And allow the process to unfold, and just notice when there's something in particular that we need to reach into, to step into.
Yeah, I mean, it all brings up more questions, right? And I think that's part of this journey, is to I would encourage everyone to be and to do, is to really just continue to be that spiritual learner. And there's Myrna. I said her name and she appeared. That's so great. You did join at the perfect time. Welcome, Myrna. Interesting that you're here, because I said your name and I was thinking about Myrna's son, Jackson, who uh, just had a birthday and turned 5, 6, 5.
No,
Anyway, what?
probably 10. We're probably just off by a couple of years.
No,
Okay, not that.
but the reason I was thinking about him was because he is a child, and because he asks those questions and he says those things to Myrna that answer these questions, like, talking about God and knowing the voice of God, and just saying things like, and when you were talking about being farther away from that, I mean, I think that's that childlike thing that you're saying gets educated out of us,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that we truly come into the world with that are already knowing those things.
Mm-hmm.
He's 5, but his comments sometimes are as if he was 10 or older. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, these are some of the spiritual questions that we came up with today, and I don't
Ah,
know. Yeah, they make my head a little crazy. But I mean, they are good questions, and they're good questions to keep asking. And I think if we keep asking those questions, those are the things that keep our practice fresh and knowing and growing, right?
it's the questions we ask and the openness we have to the answers, or to answers, not the answers, but to answers, to allow different points of view and to allow a breadth of perspective on those things. Which brings me to my last question for
Well,
the
wait, before you ask it, because now that's two things that have been said in this show that are I really like. It's the question. It's not. What did you say? It's not only the questions that we ask, but the openness we have to the answers.
Mhm.
And I think that's key. I think that, along with Abe's comment earlier about experiencing
The one.
the one experiencing the experience, I can't even say it. It's too prolific for me. But those two comments, that's it in a nutshell. Like, can we be open? Can we, you know, show up like that? Okay, what's your last question?
Well, that just brought me around to, actually, when I was looking at potential questions, the first one I found was, do you need to follow a specific religion? And what I'm hearing in all of this would seem to me to be a pretty resounding no, because it's all about it's not about a construct that's strictly closed, but something open.
All right, so I'm going to disagree with you.
Well, why should today be any different? Why?
Well, although I don't think we really got to a good definition, I'm going to say we do have to follow a specific religion, and it has to be the religion of love.
Mm.
because I think no matter what you believe or what walk of life you come from or what you call it, Catholicism, Buddhism, Judaism, it doesn't matter. New Thought, it's all about loving the one, loving the divine, loving Jesus, loving Allah. And so, yeah,
Loving me as the divine.
yeah. So there you go. Practitioner one, minister. No, I'm just kidding. I'm so kidding. I'm so kidding. It takes a village. Um, yeah. So I just. Oh, there you go, John.
God as the Beatles. All you need is love.
Okay. And on that note, we we are going to
Have
thank
to
you.
have to let this go for this week is what we're going to have to do.
We are. But I want to encourage everyone who's here and listening. I want to encourage you to look up at the Chapala conference coming up in August in Mexico because it's a beautiful event and I'm going to be there. And lots of New Thought Media is going to be there. And we're excited. We're going to be bringing you some special things from there. And yeah, we just didn't have time to talk about it, but maybe we will next week. So, any parting words?
No, I'm going to put our email in case somebody wants to send us something about it, a question during the week or something.
Okay, and Abe says, and if you don't, then we experience separation, but we still are and end with spirit. And I think that was in relation to love. Is that right?
Yep,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think so.
We experience separation, but we still are and end with spirit. Yep, we are and end with spirit. And so we end today.
Is it .com or .org?
.com.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I told you it takes a village. So as we end, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for your wisdom and your patience and your questions and your answers and it's good to think about all this with you. With I yes, we will do it again. We will do it again. So in the meantime, explore these questions and stay out there and open and rock the love this week, everybody. See you next week.
Bye now.